we've also done a post about Lewis's record collection. Can you talk about what did he listen to when he was at home? You know, what were his tastes in music?
Well, there's a wide. It's funny because when I look at his record collection, I really look at the tapes more than I look at the records, only because there's a conscious effort to take it off of a record and put it on a tape. So when I look through the digital archives, I'll kind of look at like, well, what piqued his interest from just that point of view. But it's a pretty wide palette. And the thing that got me was a lot of the music that he said he didn't like a lot of bebop and
Right.
things like that, or modern jazz. I won't say free jazz. I haven't seen any. I
No.
haven't seen anything free jazz.
Nope.
Is there?
No.
I don't think
No.
so. But a lot of modern jazz, like even if he said he didn't like it, he definitely checked it out. Like he
Definitely. Yeah.
definitely knew what was happening. So there's that. There's the Smithsonian field recordings. A lot of opera. I really, I mean, I think that's a big course of study right there. It's like Lewis's interest in opera,
Yeah.
like the Caruso. When he's listening to the Caruso recordings,
Hmm.
uh, because there's something like dramatic in his playing. There's a there's an element of like of just telling a story. Opera's crazy because it's like I want a bologna sandwich. You're on one knee. You know what I mean? You know, you know what I mean? And there's the vibrato, and there's just this intensity of it's just like bologna. And like and there's something in that in Lewis's playing. Like, that's a big. You see it, particularly Italian out.
Yeah.
We have the Tony Bennett portrait. There's something the Martino recordings. There's
Yeah.
something about Lewis in the Italian. You know, uh, Then there's the oddballs. There's the Neil. There's the Give Peace a Chance.
Hmm.
I think that's a single. Correct. We have the
Yep.
single of that,
The Plastic Ono Band. Yeah.
the Plastic Ono Band. So he was probably checking that out for the record date.
Yep.
Uh, a popular music that he was really listening to. He really listened to a lot of things. Was he part of the Columbia Record Club? Was
Oh
he getting
yeah.
records through them?
In the 50s, he got everything from Errol Garner, Doris Day, whatever Columbia was putting out. We have boxes of Columbia records.
Yeah. When I was a kid, we used to. I caught the tail end of some of that.
Uh-huh.
So funky pressings though, man. You
Yeah.
know, but that makes sense. That makes sense. And particularly if you're a traveling musician, to have that many records is kind
Yeah.
of weird. What are you gonna do with all of it when you're traveling?
Right. I mean, for him, it was make tapes of, if he could get a 40-minute LP and copy it to a 2.5-hour tape, then hey, he can get three 12-inch records on one 7-inch reel. And so
Right.
that's why, like you said, the tapes become so important. And he didn't care what he was mixing up. It could be Al Jolson followed by Miles Davis. It
Right.
was all going on the same tape.
Right. Right. Did they go on tour with him much?
He would bring a trunk full of them. Yeah, that
Okay.
was his hobby in hotel rooms and backstage, the whole thing. So,
Okay.
wherever he was, music was always an arm's length away.
Because I always wondered if like collages made like on the road or whatever, like were any lost while he was
Probably.
traveling?
He
Yeah.
would set up if he was in a hotel room for an extended period, he would start putting collages up on the walls of the hotel room. And there's some
Okay.
photos of him sitting, in a hotel room or in his dressing room with collages all over the mirrors. And
I've seen that one.
yeah, and I'm not sure how much of that, he brought with him from city to city. There's
Right.
one shot. There's a shot from the aquarium in '46, and there's snapshots on his dressing room mirror, and we have some of those snapshots. Yeah, the exact ones that he ended up taking down and saving. So God bless him for saving so much. But yeah, these were
Yeah.
all things he did, you know, all hours of the day, no matter where he was, but especially at home. I mean, we just brought up the subject of collages. Can you talk about, you know, what that meant to him, making collages, you know, designing these things that people did not know about until after, you know, long after he passed away, and now it's become such an important part of his story. Tell us about the collages.
Well, it's funny because sometimes we get these school groups in, and I mention like collages, and I'm like, well, you know, this is kind of like what hip hop artists do, where they cut and paste and they put things together, and they try to make some kind of coherent study or piece of art or a story out of all of these disjointed materials that come from God knows where. And you know, in order to create that way, you need a certain kind of brain. You have to think a certain kind of way. So you know, you always see like pastiche art, and you're just like, man, throw this crap out, you know. But there's something about Lewis's, you know, there's something, and it just tells you maybe that's just a African American aesthetic, like going back to like quilting, you know, where you're taking things from different parts and you're taking what you can put together and in such a way that you're making something very coherent, uh, and stitching it together or pasting it together. Um, you know, like when you hear things like that, and then when you hear Lewis's approach to playing, particularly like in the middle period, like where there's the big band period, he's transitioning to becoming a pop star, and his approach to popular song. I hear that same kind of aesthetic of, well, how much jazz can I put into here? How much can I subtract? Oh, can I quote from this oddball tune? Will it work? And all of those little solos are really incredibly crafted statements. And I see that same kind of aesthetic within like his collage art. It's not different at all, you know. I wish I was more of like an art historian, or was trained in something like that, because sometimes I see things in those collages. I'm not even paying attention. I might just walk by one. I'm like, whoa, what is that? You know, and you know, just different levels of juxtaposition and all these things. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.